Hello, hello, hello.
Hi.
You're live.
I'm live and we can hear you.
Hi, welcome everybody
Are you-
to our first episode of the Alpha Advisor. We have here Lloyd. So while you're coming in, go ahead and say where you're coming in from. And we're just so happy to have you here.
Richard, we'll do a virtual guitar and bass playing together sometime.
Okay, so I see everyone coming in. Lloyd, why don't you read out where some of these people are coming from?
I got Flora on here. Got a bass player on here. I'm in Atlanta,
Oh,
Georgia.
nice.
Jersey just
Dave from
joined
Cape
us, South
Cod.
Jersey.
How's it going?
Yeah, I'm really proud of you guys for jumping on this afternoon. Sunny Southern California. I know it well. Most of my kids were born and raised in Yorba Linda. I went to Burbank High School, Orange Coast College. Moved out of my parents' house at 17 down in Costa Mesa, California. Denver, Seattle. Idaho Falls. You got good weather up there in Idaho Falls today. Brian in South Florida. Sunny Arizona. My son lives over in Las Vegas. We summer house in Lake Havasu. And I drove my kids from Lake Havasu to Phoenix, young, for their swimming meets. Burbank Bulldogs, right on. Did somebody see? Got it. That was on my TV. All right, jury in Chicago today. Are you in downtown Chicago or outside of Chicago? What's funny, I'm looking at where everybody's from, and I have worked with an agency office in almost every one of these cities at one time or another. Yeah, the Bulldogs. They didn't have a cover on the stadium back when I was there. And then we got Bryan in South Florida. Seattle. I said Denver. Cool. We're really glad to have everybody here. Type in the chat box and tell me what's the one thing you want to leave today learning, knowing, or improving on. We've got Delta BC Canada. Welcome aboard. Class of 62. All right. All right. I'm Lloyd Lofton. We're going to jump right into the program here. Let me share my screen. Now, as I get ready to share my screen, I want to give you a couple of tips. First thing I want you to do is I want everybody mute their phone, because I know that we're all really important, and we have a lot of really important phone calls coming into us in Texas, and those are distracting to us. But you took the time, energy, and resources. You came out of the field giving up commission to be on here, and you're going to get a call, a text, or a message on one of these slides, and you're going to say, can you go back? And I'm not going to do that, because you're going to miss a key phrase that could bring you in hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. The second thing I want you to do is close your email. So if you're on your desktop, close your email right now. You don't have it open, close it. And the third thing I want you to do is get a pen and paper together. Keep your phone, because some of the stuff I'm going to show you at the end is actually going to be some questions that you can use to grow your business. And so you are going to want a snapshot of some of these questions. So I want you to mute your phone. I want you to close your email and get a pen and paper ready to take down some notes. Today, we're going to talk about the financial mindscape of the American consumer. Yesterday in Power Hour, Melissa did a survey. I don't know if any of you were on Power Hour yesterday. Type in the box and let me know that you were on Power Hour. And did you see this message, this survey that was done? Because in the survey, the question was, what concerns you the most? Marketing, messaging, questioning, or process? And then they showed the results. This is the results of the survey. And a little surprising to me, and I'll tell you why in a second, but a little surprising to me was that 42% were worried about marketing. Only 17% were worried about messaging, 17% about questioning, and 25% about process. So marketing and process got the most responses. In other words, the two things that concern people the most is marketing and process. And the reason I think that's a little bit funny is because marketing is really primarily successful because of the messaging that you use. So if you send out an email, if you do a Facebook ad, if you do media marketing, besides some of the technical stuff that's involved in emails, which is your click-through rate and your open rate and delivery and some of that kind of stuff. But aside from that, what makes your messaging what makes your marketing successful is the messaging. So I just think it was funny that most people are the marketing aspect rather than the messaging side of it. Can you make that big again for me? There you go. Good, thank you. And then the process, because the sales process is pretty well spelled out. I mean, historically, we know in almost every industry the reason and the way people buy things. And that process follows the dominant buying motive, and the messaging people have. So how true is that? Well, I'm going to give you an example how true that is here. So let me back to this for a second. So if you subscribe to Lerma, one of the things that you see in Lerma, and they do all the time, is they do these surveys. And we started off today talking about the surveys of the financial mindscape of the American consumer. So they did a survey, and here's the purpose of their survey. Consumers allocate their household budget across a number of competing financial priorities. So when they become concerned, which when you read this, you can read faster than I can. When you read this, you should be shocked today because it's so simple. And the reason it's so simple, it's such a simple concept, is because who isn't concerned about gas prices today, right? Who isn't concerned about grocery prices? And a year ago, you might not have had the same concern about gas prices. Over the weekend on Sunday, my wife and I went out for a little while, and we passed the gas station. It was $4.14. We went a couple of miles, and then the gas was $4.08. We went a couple more miles, and it was $4.04. So it's almost every block you go builds up the nerves and builds up the anxiety because you don't know what the next price is going to be. And the same thing is happening with food. So it just speaks, I mean, this survey here speaks to the irony that the problems and the pains and concern that consumers are going through are pretty universal. So we know, I mean, it makes sense to understand how the American consumers weigh life insurance, just as one of the products, but how they weigh life insurance relative to all their other financial problems. It means that we have to understand their financial mindscape. So today I'm going to break all this down for you. At the end of this, I'm going to give you some questions that you can ask. But as we go through this, I want to get your opinion about a couple of things. So the concern by gender and marital status, what do we notice here? We notice that women are more concerned about 8 specific items, notably emergency savings, financial support if disabled, medical expenses, and long-term care expenses. In other words, women are primarily concerned about those 4 things. And so in your mind, if you were putting together a marketing piece, what is it that would be one of your messaging in your marketing? Type in the chat box and tell me. Just from what we've seen so far, if you gather a marketing piece to market yourself and your services, just based on what we're looking at now, what would be one of the messages? What would be one of the themes of your marketing piece? Because we're talking about women and what their primary concerns are. And you see the little bit difference under men. Men are more concerned on losing money on investments. So if we're going to do a marketing message, it kind of helps to know a little bit about what concerns them. You should be selling the problem people have, not the product or service that you offer. Saving money and reducing cost. That's regarding who? Type in there, is that regarding men or women? Because under women, if I was going to put together a marketing message, I would put a subject line that addressed financial support if disabled. Or I would put under the subject line something regarding emergency savings. Yeah, women, maintain dignity when life happens. That's great. Garth did a great job on that. And the same thing on the marital status. So on your piece of paper, there's 2 things you want to write down. So we're going to talk about putting together a marketing plan. We're looking at who we're going to market this to. One of them is gender. So are you marketing to men, women, or both? And on marital status, what is their primary concern? Well, for couples, they're more concerned over dependence and financial situation if they die, their dependents' education, and leaving an inheritance. And yet long-term care insurance is one of the most difficult to sell. Well, maybe it is. In one of our other classes, we'll address that. Maybe it is. And maybe the reason, here's my question. Is it difficult to sell because people don't understand the product, or to sell because we're selling the wrong thing? So on marriage, for single people, what are they concerned about? They're more concerned over financial support if disabled and mortgage and rent. So if I was going to put together a marketing plan, the audience I'm going to seek out, here's two ways to define them: by gender, and I look at what women are concerned about. So if I'm into women, either married or single, I'm going to have to figure out the messaging that they're concerned about. I'm not going to figure out the messaging that I like or that resonates with me, right? I'm going to figure out the messaging that they're concerned about. So a marketing message around women, we've got marketing message around men. Next marketing message that we want to look at is by generation. And for millennials, their high levels of concern are they have higher levels of concern over Gen X and baby boomers of those 5 items. So mortgage, rent, monthly bills, and leaving an inheritance. And Gen Xers are more concerned than boomers on most items. So again, financial support if disabled, dependence, education, retirement, and reducing credit card. So now we have 4 criteria, right? Gender, marital status, millennials, Gen X's. So that's the younger generation. Now we can drill down and look at our market plan by income. And those with under $50,000 in income are more concerned about their monthly bills and their mortgage and rent. Now remember, this is from Lorma, so they did a study with consumers, and this is what the consumers are coming back telling you. This isn't what I'm telling you. This isn't what some insurance company is telling you. This is what consumers are saying are their primary concern. So 50,000 to 99,000, they're concerned about financial support if disabled and long-term care expenses. And then if they make 100,000 a year or more, it's losing money on investments. So again, I'm going to go back. We have gender and marital status. I'm going to put together a marketing campaign. I'm going to figure out who my audience is. So I'm going to decide what gender I'm going to market to. Is it going to be women, men, both? I'm going to decide what their marital status is. Is it a couple? Is it single people? I'm going to break it down even further by millennials or Gen X's or maybe the baby boomers. And then I'm going to look at it by income. And the more I take them down this funnel, the more I can refine my message. Because when you create a marketing piece, whether it's an email template, social media marketing, Facebook ad, Google AdWords, whatever you're doing, what is the primary thing you have to consider? When people see or either are exposed to your marketing, maybe it's in an email, and they see that email, what is it that you want them to feel? I mean, think about that with all the messaging that you would do. What is it that you want them to feel? And then the second thing is, what do you want them to do? So once they see your piece, what emotional reaction do you want them to have to it? And remember what your competition is. Your competition is the noise of their environment. Whether they're sitting on a subway train, whether they're sitting at a relative's house, in a restaurant somewhere, in the back seat of a car, driving a car, you're competing with their environment. What is it you want them to feel? What do you want them to do? And how easy do you make it for them to do that? Now that we know how to break down who we're targeting, then what are the attitudes that we're going to target? I thought this is a really good. I thought this was a really good slide. Over 80% of consumers agree that most people need life insurance. And one of the things, see, You are the solution to the problem. I agree with that. Sylvia says you are the solution to the problem. So really what you're selling is the problem they have. You're never, ever selling the market because they're not interested. Anybody, anytime, you probably have had this experience, anytime I call me up about life insurance or health insurance, I'll bet you 60%, if not more of the time, they had some health issue that disqualified them. There was a reason they were seeking it out. You know, it's like dental insurance. I mean, if you had bad teeth and you needed a root canal, you had cavities, and you got a marketing piece, and that marketing piece said that you got first aid dental coverage for all levels of care. When you bought that plan, how quick would you file a claim? The next day. I mean, I work with companies all the time where they get nailed with a claim the very next day. I remember when MedSup Plan N came out back in, I think it was 2010. Mutual of Omaha came out with it. And we told them, hey, whoa. You need to slow down on this. No, this is a great thing to do. And in 1 year, they had adverse selection. So people are not really interested in the product, but they are interested in the problems that they have. So someone on Facebook said it's in their mind, and that's true. But look at this. Is life insurance attitudes just in general. The primary wage earner in a family needs life insurance. 90% of the response said the primary wage earner in a family needs life insurance. So if I was putting together a marketing, my subject line might be something related to the primary wage earner needs life insurance. And why would I use that as a good subject line? I mean, I would work on the wording. Why would I use that as a good subject line? Because I'm talking their language. And so you can see the statistic on data. 100 million underinsured in life insurance. Someone from Facebook said that. Absolutely. There's no question about that. Now, here's one that I think is really interesting. And I think you can do some really great marketing messaging with this. This is life insurance attitude for couples. And I love this one here. I wish my spouse or partner would purchase more life insurance. It seems like to me a great message would be, like I can envision a great subject line in an email or a great Facebook ad, right? And you have to have them a certain size when you run those Facebook ads, and you make it clickable so that you either drive them to a landing page where they watch a short video, and then the call to action at the end of it, where they can either get a download, they can get an appointment with you, or they can apply right now, right? That's your 3 call to actions. But I can see the messaging since they've said, now here's the other thing that's interesting. Look at this, all boomers, Gen X, and millennials. So who said this the most? Type in the chat box and tell me who said this the most. I wish my spouse would purchase more life insurance. Who do you think said that the most? Type it in the chat box. And the reason I think that's such an interesting statistic there is most people don't actually think that millennials care. But yet, millennials are the one who said, 42% said, I wish my spouse or partner would purchase more life insurance. So in my marketing piece, I might actually say something to the effect, don't you wish your spouse would buy more life insurance? And the reason for that is because if someone read that and that's how they felt, their response would be yes. And I think that any marketing piece we put out there, we want them to say yes. That's why I love this piece there. I don't know how much life insurance my spouse or partner has. So I might turn that into a question. And turn into a question that would be the call to action. And that might be, the question might be, let's find out how much life insurance your partner has. That might be the call to action in the subject line or in the ad piece that causes them to have a look. And they might click the link to find out. Particularly if you had the ability for them to answer a few questions to pre-qualify them. So we've looked at the attitude, some of the criteria when we're putting a marketing piece together about who we're targeting. And we've drilled down on the things that matter most to them. And so what I would tell you, all of your marketing should talk to people about the things they use the most in the order they use those things, because that's what people are concerned about. We looked at what the attitudes are. So if those things are true, if those survey results are actually true, then I'm going to ask the question that each one of you on the call today is probably asking yourself. In fact, one person said it about long-term care. Why don't they buy? I mean, if Lerman did this great study and they're really great at it, and these numbers are true, you would think everybody, like your phone should be ringing off the hook of people wanting to buy from you. But I mean, the reason you're here today is because you know that that's not true. That doesn't happen. So why don't they buy? Well, the most common reason for not buying is 63% of people think it's too expensive. They think life insurance is too expensive. Remember, this survey is specifically about life insurance. They think it's too expensive. 61% say I have other financial priorities. And 52% say I have as much as I need, which is kind of an interesting number, because if they've had a life insurance policy for 10 years or longer, that is probably a true perception on the day they bought the life insurance, because they bought what they thought they needed. And because they're still emotionally connected to that purchase, they haven't caught up with all of the changes in their life, and they don't recognize the additional need they have today. So that is kind of an emotional barrier that we have to break through with them. Since 63% of people said, or their perception is life insurance is too expensive, I thought it would be good to look at what the estimated cost of coverage is. Again, this is from Lerman. This is Lerman surveyed consumers, and this is consumers' perception between $100 and $1,000 a month. This is consumers' perception. And then I want to point out something to you. As we look at this, I'm going to go back for a second. So right here, my favorite messaging, I wish my spouse or partner would purchase more life insurance, right? That's my favorite one. And that's millennial. So on here, 44% of millennials actually think that life insurance is $1,000 a month or more. Isn't that kind of ironic? Or I think it's kind of ironic. So they think that their spouse should get it. They wish their spouse would get it, but they are under the false belief that life insurance is going to cost them that kind of money. So again, as we've kind of targeted our audience now, we know what messaging that they will respond to. And so now we're starting to learn what blocks we have to get through, because consumers overestimate the cost of all coverage, life insurance, long-term care, health insurance, everything, by almost 4 times the actual cost. So when we look at the breadwinner, when that breadwinner dies, how long is it going to take that family before they are financially impacted by the loss of that income from that primary breadwinner? And again, if we go back and look at the numbers, it's kind of shocking to me that between 1 week and 1 month equals 35% of the people. That means 35% of the people you talk to on a daily basis, if the primary breadwinner passed away, would run out of money. So I'm not sure, but I think that's probably a conversation that we should have, right? And I think that we have to learn to have the courage to ask questions. And the hard question might be, in your mind, when your spouse passes away, between 2 weeks, 30 days, and 6 months, how soon do you feel like you will start running out of money? I mean, I think that might be a deep question to ask. So we can look at these numbers here. One number that I think is really interesting in here, besides the 15 and 20%, is the don't know number. Because if I don't know, and I add it in, somebody's asking me to move my face. I can do that. I'm trying to move my face. It won't move it. Sorry about that. So there you go. Thank you, Jazz. Appreciate that. So if I take the 15% to 20, add the 16% into don't know, what percent are we in? We're at 50%. And since you can't lose anything you don't have, what does this tell us about the conversations that we should be having with our prospects? One of the primary conversations you should be having with every prospect, you're welcome. Thank Jazz for doing that. That conversation should be, and I like to give time frames. Like, here's a trick that car sales people do. Car sales people say, when you think about how much money you want to set aside for your car payment, between 0 and 100, 100 and 300, or more than $300 a month, where do you fall? Right? Now, here's the trick. You ready? Here's the trick. If you say, well, between somewhere around $300, they'll say, and not more than. And when they say not more than, you'll say, well, not more than 400. And they just raised your window $100. That's like an old salesman's trick. And that's where you tack on your ancillary products in there. So when you say to someone, when you think about the first month, the first 3 months, or up to the first 6 months after your spouse passes away, how long will it take before you start running out of money? Or you're going to have to start depending on your savings account or others for living expenses. I mean, we should be asking questions that cause people to think. We should not be asking closed-end questions. We should be asking questions that make them think, that are thoughtful questions, that cause them to have a little bit of discomfort and makes them actually feel like that what we're bringing to the table is something different than every other product hawking, price hawking salesperson they talk to. So we started off in this section, why don't they buy? We looked at that. So why? Why haven't they bought from you? Well, no one's approached them. Again, I go back to millennials, the ones that nobody, I mean, most of the time when I talk to agents and advisors, they always feel like that millennials aren't interested. But yet, if you look at just the surveys we've gone through here, the strongest responses we've gotten are from millennials. And so 43% of millennials say that 1 in 4 haven't been approached about life insurance. And that should be shocking. Even if you take the Gen X, I mean, if you get tag on the Gen X with the millennials, look at the percentage. So next time you put together a marketing plan, think about the audience that you want to reach. Think about what they've already told you that are their concerns. Understand what you want them to feel, what you want them to do, and do you make it easy for them to do that? And then look at how you can segment your marketing so that when you do your marketing, the responses you get will drop your prospects into the different funnels based on things like, for example, millennials, Gen X's, and boomers. Like, I can put copy in an email marketing piece and have a click here. And when they click that, I can drop them into different buckets. And then that tells me what additional stuff I might market back to them as we build a relationship. So I think it's interesting that a lot of times we feel like millennials aren't really interested. Most of the time they are. I like what Richard said. So many insurance commercials on TV that don't millennials. Yeah, absolutely. And we got somebody on Facebook said, yes, today's news is talking about the cost of raising a baby until age 18, $230,000. Well, think of the baby boomer generation. That's 1946 to 1964. That's the most studied market in history. They all came back from World War II. They got married. They bought their first house. They had their babies. They bought baby carriages, baby beds. They bought baby food. They bought tricycles, bicycles. They put their kids in this elementary school, junior high, high school, and college, all at the same time, all within that 18-year period. Now, let me ask you this. Those parents who went through the life cycle of experience together, what are they doing in retirement? Starting in January of 2011, baby boomers started turning 65. More than 10,000 a day turned 65. And over the next 18 years, past 2030, they're all going to go through their senior years, the same life experiences together. And we know everything about them. There's nothing that we don't know about any market. In fact, if you take a piece of paper now, this is an assignment for you. Take a piece of paper right now. And on that piece of paper, I went down 63 to 65. Like, write that down at the top of your paper, 63 to 65. And you're not going to do all this on this call here because we won't have time. But maybe you come back for the next one and bring that with you. What are their dominant buying motives? What life cycle issues are they going to go through from that age forward? So you take that male that's turning 65. How old could his oldest kids be? 40 to 45-year-old, right? What's a 40 to 45-year-old's dominant buying motive? From that age until they turn 65. Now, take that group, that 40 to 45-year-olds, what's their oldest kid's age? 20 to 25 years old. So we know within each market exactly what they're going to go through. We know, for example, they're going to get married, they're going to have a kid, they're going to buy a house, they're going to get their first job, they're going to have a second kid, they're probably going to move for a job. We know that when they're 40, 45 years old, they're going to have kids in high school, they're going to have to pay for college, they're planning for their retirement. Maybe they're in an echo career, they're in their second or third career. We already know all these things about these people. The messaging should be really simple. It should resonate. It should be repeatable, relatable, and referable. But yet, the marketing that goes out always seems to be about the product, the carrier, the price, or the firm. And I'm going to tell you something, they're not interested in any of that. Everybody in this survey said that before they would buy life insurance, they would go to the agent's social media presence. So does your LinkedIn profile, does your Facebook profile, does your Instagram profile, or your post about your prospect or about you? When they read your LinkedIn profile, do they get a sense of what they would get from working with you, or do they get informed of what you do? And again, the red theme of today is millennials. 57% of millennials are going to go check your social media profile. That's not me saying that. That's them saying that to you. So if you don't think LinkedIn is important, if you don't think your Facebook or your website is important, then you have to ask yourself, are you expanding your messaging to your potential market, or are you narrowing it? Are you causing people to want to learn more about you? Or are you causing them to want to leave your social media post and your presence quicker? Because reliance on social media extends to life insurance even among baby boomers. Again, if I take Gen X and baby boomers, I've got more than 50%. I've got 60% of the people, right? Well, 70%. That's huge. So that's why I think that survey that we talked about at the very beginning, that Melissa does yesterday on the Power, was really interesting to me. Because in my opinion, that doesn't mean I'm right. I'm just telling you my opinion. Marketing and process, in my view, should fall under your messaging. Like you should get your marketing plan together. We talked about that already. But if you don't spend as much time on your messaging as you do everything else, then the marketing is just not going to get you the results that you need to have. And it's not me saying it. It's your target market is telling you that in these surveys. So let's look at the top interest when they do buy. What is the number one thing that they're interested in when they do buy? And this, if there's anything that you should take away, take your phone and take a snapshot of this. Because if in fact you buy into what Watch show today, and this resonates with you, and just type in the chat box and tell me, yes, this makes sense. I have questions about it. I'm not sure about it. I want to just say in there, but let me know what your reaction has been to this message from Lerma. But each one of these under millennials, Gen X's, boomers, and seniors, and yeah, Ms. Brooks is right. Focus on the benefits. Yeah, each one of these people are can't read it. It's too small. Maybe this can make it a little bit bigger for us for a second here. Each one of these, make that full screen if you would, Jess. There you. Thank you. Each one of these is your marketing message. Now, I'm not talking about the copy. There's a difference in the copy, the words you use. And in a minute, I'm going to go to that. In a minute, I'm going to give you dozens of phrases and sentences that you can use. And hopefully you're smart enough to write them down or take a picture of it. But just look under Gen X's, right? If I was prospecting and my target market was a Gen X, and I had a really strong call to action, like something simple like, wouldn't it be nice if your spouse actually bought life insurance for you? Darn. They responded to that, and I had a conversation. I would make sure that everything I talked to them about was easy to understand, that the ability to pick the insurance type from a number of different choices, and that they could talk to me in person if they needed to. Now, if that sounds brilliant to you, I'm not brilliant. I just happen to know how to read. And that's what it says under Gen X's. For example, if I was marketing boomers, and you notice there's a difference between boomers and seniors, remember that 65-year-old? Well, his wife, more often than not, is about 62 or 63. And that's called doing, right? That's the senior market and the underage market. Because when he, 5 or 66, and he's going to do three things almost without exception. He's going to sign up for Social Security, he's going to auto care, and 80% are going to get some kind of supplement. Medicare Advantage, Medicare supplement, they're going to get some kind of supplement. And when he does that, he's going to pull $1,800 or $2,000 a year out of his monthly disposable budget that he's been paying for health insurance for the last 35 years. Even if he has group coverage, he's going to pay for dependent coverage. And he's going to reposition that to pay for that health plan. And then he's going to use the rest of the money to get his wife a health plan. That's an underage plan. See how that works? So as senior, you want to make sure your messaging is easy to understand. The company selling the policy is well known, so they're concerned about brands. You notice the others don't say that, right? And the ability to chat with a person. See how the marketing message is different? That's the difference in marketing a product and marketing the problems that people have. So you should have already taken a picture of that, because that gives you a clue into the marketing messages that you want to be using. And what will they buy? Well, this is they said, right? The people from the survey, it's not me. 52% are more likely to buy via simple underwriting than traditional underwriting. And the numbers are staggering. 55%. 52%. They're much more likely and somewhat more likely. And if you add in the neither more or less likely, 38%, if you had really good messaging that pulled in a portion of them, that drives your numbers up even higher. So what appeals to them about simplified underwriting? Well, it's fast and easy. 72% said that. It's unbiased and objective. If that they feel about it, guess what copy I'm going to have in my marketing message? That when you work with me, you're going to get fast, easy, unbiased, and objective underwriting. And why would I use that kind of terminology? Because they just told me that's what matters to them. Take a picture of that. All that wording should be in your marketing messaging. So here's some marketing presentation hints, and then get ready because I'm going to show you some of these words and phrases you should be using. This is really, really critical. Take a picture of this. It's actually a little bit shocking. If someone has individual life insurance, they also have 65% of them also have a homeowner's policy. You see that? Go to group life insurance and go down to computer warranties. 29% of people who have group life insurance also have a computer warranty. Well, Lloyd, what is that? I mean, that's interesting, Lloyd, but I don't see why that's such a big deal. Well, if I was going to market to people that did not have life insurance, one of the first things I would want to know is where do these people congregate at, right? My marketing costs can go down if I'm marketing to where they congregate. And if 74% of people that don't have life insurance have health insurance, I might find groups that people who have health insurance belong to and do my marketing there because that's where they congregate at. For example, if I looked at people that had individual life insurance and I wanted to get long-term care with them, where are they congregating at? Right? So if I want long-term care, I go across the board and I look at individual and group. 35% of people that have individual and group life insurance also have long-term care. So I can match my marketing message to exactly where they're at. Just like individual people who have individual and group life insurance also have pet insurance. Isn't that interesting? And take a picture of this because this is why they don't buy life insurance. They're telling you the cost of living, rent, mortgage, groceries, and electricity is preventing them from making that buying decision. So you need to have really good messaging and find money they're spending anyway that they can reposition to pay for that product. And when I look at where people hang out, I find that Facebook is the king. That's where they're hanging out at. Consumers use social media for financial service related information. 13% use Facebook, 6% use LinkedIn. YouTube usage rate is 8%. And here's the financial priorities that keep consumers from buying more life insurance. So there's your 4 quadrants of life insurance, health coverage, living expenses, and savings goals. That's the 4 quadrants of your messaging. So I'm going to jump over to messaging. You guys want to see, type in the chat box and tell me if you want to see phrases. You want to see some phrases and sentences you can use? And enlarge picture, there you go. right, hang on just a second. Sorry about that, guys. Hang on a second. Don't leave me. Don't leave me. Don't leave me. I'm doing something here. Hang with me. I'm doing something here real quick. All right. Are we back? All right. Pick up that if you would, Jazz.
Yeah, we don't see your other screen.
All right. Hang on a second. I'm sorry. That's my fault.
Hmm.
User error, guys. User error.
Yeah, no problem.
My wife wasn't here to tell me what. I see what happened. Hang on a second, guys. That should be it right there. Do you see it now? Do you see it now?
No, not yet. Hold on. Here, let me enable it now. Okay, there we go. Perfect.
All right, good. All right. I see what happened. It went all the way to the end. All right. Okay. So take a picture of this. Just kind of gives you an idea of the way you can start off subject lines in your. Are you looking to take? Are you worried about getting and take notice? Do you need a quality blank to be able to start now? Do you want to leverage blank to blank or blank? Would you like to know the secrets for blank, effective, and blank? So here's how you can talk about what you do. I help take the confusion out of planning for retirement. Let's have a conversation and get to know each other so we can decide if we should begin to work together. I do what I do so you can go out and live the life to the fullest. Once we put a strategy in place, we will revisit at least once per year or more frequently if necessary. As time passes, circumstances will change. So we will have ongoing discussions and I'll provide options on how we can keep your strategy on track. Does that sound fair? Are you happy with your current standard of living? Part of my job is to help you determine if you can keep the same standard of living that you have today throughout your retirement. And that's what you'd be expecting, right? I will help you put together a retirement strategy subject to your specific situation. We'll discuss your options, try different scenarios, and together decide which choice is appropriate for you. When you retire, you'll have an income need. That income need may be addressed with Social Security and possibly a pension benefit, employer-sponsored retirement plan, and your own personal savings. Many people may end up with a deficit. Our goal is to help bridge the gap between the two so that you can continue the same standard of living you have today throughout retirement. And you'll notice that on here, these I didn't do it, right? But on here, I bolded the words for you to use voice emphasis. One of the ways that you can ensure that you are engaging with prospects and that they're engaging with you is that you tag on to their emotions. And so what happens, we want to put voice emphasis. Yes, Tracy, I'll go back and show all the screens again. I apologize for going through them so fast. But I bolded the words that if I was doing the presentation, I would put voice emphasis on. And one of the things about selling virtually like this is that all the things that we did in person, belly to belly, we struggle doing now, right? So, like in person, you can sell off the wall. Hey, I see your bowling trophy. I see that you're in the PTAs. You golf. I see that you you fish. The only thing you can see about me, for example, is I have guitars. It's a little bit harder to engage with people about their environment. So we have to use the tools that we have. We have to be really good at technology, and maybe one of our upcoming classes will cover some of that. But the biggest tool that we have to work with people is our voice. I mean, we can make eye contact. I can lean into the camera and look at you. We can make eye contact. I can even use powerful directing force of pointing to influence you to do this. But my voice is going to do most of it. So I bold the words that I want to use to stir emotion or act in you. So if you look at the sentence you have in front of you, that income need me addressed with Social Security, and possibly, notice how I stretched the word out, possibly, and possibly a pension benefit, employer-sponsored retirement plan, and your own retirement savings. Notice the difference in the voice inflection. A lot of people end up with a deficit. Notice how the octave of my voice went up a little bit at the end of deficit. I almost into an exclamation point while it's a question, right? Our goal is to help bridge the gap between the two so that you can continue the same standard of living you have today throughout your retirement. So we use those words and our voice to engage our prospect, underline things that should matter to them, and set the stage for the next part of our presentation. Sometime in the future, for one reason or another, you'll no longer be working. My job is to help you create sufficient retirement funds that will keep flowing when your income through paid employment stops. I can help you build a retirement strategy that encompasses your current and projected future budget, as well as the retirement goals and dreams that you currently have for yourself and your family. As your situation changes, we can modify your strategy. Notice I use the word we can, because I want to align myself with them. I want them to be aligned with me, but I want them to feel like I'm aligned with them. Most salespeople and agents, we're coming up on the end here, so I don't know if it's okay if we go over for a couple minutes. Most salespeople or agents are concerned that the prospect likes them. And I would tell you just to consider that it may be as important, if not more important, that the prospect feels like you like them. So we want them to feel like that we're aligned with them. So I'm going to throw up the last part of this, and then I'm open it for any questions or comments people want to have. So does anybody have any questions before I go to the last part of this, the last here? If you do, throw it in the chat box. So I hope you took some pictures of these. And one thing I'll make available, if you want a copy of these questions, you can reach out and I'll be happy to provide you a copy of these questions. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show, and I don't know if we're at a hard stop at Jazz or if we can go over for a couple of minutes, but I'm going to do this last part because this last part you absolutely should take a picture of. This is setting the stage. So you've picked your audience. You did a great job that you segmented it. You got great messaging. The people responded to your message because it spoke to them. You got great copy. You got the appointment, and you're going to have your first conversation with them. And here's how you set up the meeting when you talk to them. Jane, here's what I found my clients expect from me. My honest opinion, even if it's uncomfortable sometimes. Sometimes we just avoid talking about that, right? Solutions that fit their lifestyle and their budget, and a commitment that I'll be there as their needs change. Is that what you're looking for in an advisor? And we've got to have the courage to make them answer the question. This is the first step and getting a commitment from them. And when they say yes, we ask them, what else do you expect from me? And what's great about that question is it makes them think. We do not want to ask questions that are yes or no, that don't require any engagement about this. You know, the hard part about being a financial advisor or an insurance agent is that sometimes we think that, sorry about for a second. Sometimes we think that the only way we have value is if we are educating them. And then here's the way it goes from there. Thank you. You have my word. I'll do exactly that. Now, let me share with you what kind of client I've seen the most success with. They share their concerns, both now and in the future, openly. They tell me what they can do, what they won't do. They give me a yes or no. I have a lot of clients. I won't be like most advisors who keep calling, mailing, and bothering you. If the answer is yes, I'll do everything I can to make sure the solution you designed today gets issued, delivered, and we do annual reviews. And if the answer is no, I'll thank you for your time, move on to my next client. Is that fair? Can we agree on that today? And when you do that, you have taken care of 2 of the 4 basic objections, which we'll talk about at another time. So I'm going to throw it back over to Jazz. If anybody has any final questions that they want to ask or comments that you want to make? Manny, Jazz, do you reframing the
no,
board? Go ahead. Did you say something, Manny?
yeah, we have a link here that we wanted to drop there in order if they wanted to schedule a meeting with one of our advisors. I'm going to go ahead and drop it right now.
Okay. While he does that, somebody asked me to put these questions due. I'm going to do that for you. Here they are. I'm not sure I want to promise I won't keep contacting them. Well, absolutely. I think you should build a relationship with them, Richard, but I don't think you should keep selling them. I think you should keep bringing them value. Thank you, Suzanne. I appreciate you taking the time to be here today. Tracy, we appreciate you. I agree. SW.
If anyone's interested in speaking to Lloyd, he does his classes through Advisors Max on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. And today's special, you can join Max for $197 a month. Usually it's $497, but we're dropping the price for this first launch of Alpha Advisors to $197. All you have to do is hit the link that is being dropped into the chat, and you can talk to one of our coaches about getting into this class today.
Well, go, Richard. Don't let anything hold you back, bud. Listen, 197 is the commission on a juvenile policy. So you should have gotten enough information today to go out and write $300,000 policies in the next 30 days. So you don't have to worry about taking money out of your current budget to pay for this. You're already going to make the money off your first commission. And that's a salesman talking to you. And everybody that signs up for this, I'll see to it that you get a list of all these questions. Michael, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Just as a parting shot, as people are thinking about leaving here, just type in the chat box, what is your biggest objection that you run into? The biggest objection. Just type it in the box. What is your biggest objection that you run into out in the field? And I'm going to bet you that I can guess the objection that you don't list. So type in the chat box and tell me your objection, and I'll tell you the objection I bet you don't list. Because the one you don't list is the one that will block you the most. Jen's looking for the link. It's in the chat box. It's too expensive. Okay, that's so the 4 basic objection is no money, no need, no cost. Money, no need, no hurry are the 4 basic objections. Hey, Kern, how you doing, my man? The one objection that people never put in there is the objection that no need, no money. Yep, absolutely. We need to work it into our budget, right? Now, the irony of these, we appreciate you back. No, everybody's saying no money. Well, the fact that you're saying no money tells me something. So don't take offense where offense isn't meant. But the reason you're getting the no money objection is because you're dealing with it up front. But the biggest objection getting is from yourself. The biggest objection you're getting is the one where you tell yourself, someone's probably not going to answer the phone. They're not going to buy. This lead program probably won't work. I can't do it. What if I fail? That's the biggest objection we get. Because all these other objections, they're easy to handle. Easy peasy, weasy to handle. And we taught it in the class. The hardest objection to handle and the hardest prospect to overcome their objection is the prospect we see in the mirror. That's the hardest one. And I do that every time I do these calls. Before I get on one of these calls, I'm a nervous wreck. I get dry cotton mouth. I have to get up and kind of walk around the room. I put on some music in the background to kind of get myself jazzed up. Because every time I get nervous about it. What if you ask me a question and I don't know the answer? I'm across the wrong way. I do the exact same thing that you guys do. So just think, you're going to take one idea that you got from today. Is that? So you're going to get one idea from today, and you're going to make 10 what investment you make that's available to you all the time.
Thank you so much, Lloyd. All right, so we're going to end here. These resources will be available inside the Max area. If you haven't yet, go ahead and go to the link and you can book a call to get into Max for this low price. And we'll see you next time. Have a great day.
Take care, guys. Go out the money.